Hello, and welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history. In this video, we're going to start looking at the Rise of the Eldrazi set, so this is the third part of the original Zendikar block. And it's a bit of a weird set, honestly, as we'll discover as we look at the next 5 decks. So we're going to start off with looking at Eldrazi Arisen, which is, I'm just going to go off on a tangent here. It's such an unoriginal deck name. What should we call this deck for Rise of the Eldrazi? How about Eldrazi Arisen? Like, brilliant. Like, don't put too much thought into it, lads. But anyway, red-green deck. Let's start looking at it. So, Rise of the Eldrazi and Eldrazi Arisen. This deck includes the titular Eldrazi, who are the big focus of the set. The set's narrative. Bit of lore. Basically, they're big cosmic horror entities. They burst out of Hedrons, I think there's something to do with that. I'm maybe not the best person to consult about lore, but they're big cosmic horrors from beyond the blind eternities, and their big gimmick was that they are some of them were colorless creatures and they weren't artifacts, and that was kind of a big deal at the time. And they're all huge creatures as well. So the deck contains these 3 colorless ones. So the first one is Pathrazer of Ulamog, so 11 mana, so these were super expensive, but there were ways to get them out slightly quicker, as we'll see in a bit. So Pathrazer of Ulamog, 11 mana for a 9/9, has Annihilator 3, so Annihilator is a keyword that was on all the colourless Eldrazi, and everyone hates this keyword. I think there's probably some people who like it. I mean, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but yeah, within my play group at the time, like, we definitely hated this because it's I don't know. So Annihilator. Oh, I can't speak. Annihilator has a value attached to it. Usually between 1 and 3. The bigger Eldrazi Titans have, like 6 or something. So whenever this creature attacks, the defending player has to sacrifice that many permanents. Like, before you even get to damage or anything like that, as soon as they attack, you have to sacrifice 2 things. And, like, thematically it makes sense, because the Eldrazi are kind of like eating things. They consume planes. That's their whole thing. That's their what they do in the narrative. So it makes sense. And also, it's an 11 mana creature. It should be doing something big and flashy when it attacks. But people did not like Annihilator, which is, and again, I feel it's a big expensive creature and it should be doing something big that is going to bring the game to a close. Like, it's fine to have a big creature with a big effect that ends the game, but I don't know what it was about Annihilator that just doesn't sit well with a lot of people. Maybe because it's making people sacrifice. Like, if you could destroy stuff, maybe, I don't know, but you're making people sacrifice a lot of stuff. I don't know, maybe it feels like more it puts the pressure on them to get rid of their own stuff. I don't know. Anyway, so 9/9, Annihilator 3, and it has Super Menace. It can't be blocked except by 3 or more creatures. So big, evasive. 9/9. Even if you block it with things, it's probably going to win combat, and it's still swung, so you're still doing Annihilator. So yeah, Pathrazer is fairly strong. A single Ulamog's Crusher, so 8 mana for an 8/8 with Annihilator 2, and has to attack every turn if able. So this is like one of the, I think it's only 2 common Eldrazi, or at least the big colorless Eldrazi. Yeah, it's 8 mana for an 8/8, sure. I mean, it's expensive, but we're in red-green. It's not like we can't ramp up. And as we'll see, there are ways of being able to get them out a little quicker. And Hand of Emrakul, who's 9 mana for a 7/7 with Annihilator 1. But you can sacrifice 4 Eldrazi spawn rather than pay Hand of Emrakul's mana cost. So, there was way of potentially, I don't think the cards are in this deck, actually, thinking about it. But, there was a potential of getting this out maybe like turn 3 or 4 if you, got the right like red and green spells that managed to dump a load of Eldrazi spawn creature tokens onto the battlefield, which is how you can get these bigger Eldrazi out as well with these Eldrazi spawn tokens. Hand of Emrakul is the only one that has this kind of mechanic where you have to sacrifice a certain number of them as an alternate cost. None of the others have that. But I think it's like a pretty strong ability, and like the fact that it's smaller and only has Annihilate 1 is fine, because you've got the potential of dropping it like really, really early. So so these are all the colorless Eldrazi. So then we have some colored Eldrazi. So this is, I mean, this is going to feel weird now because obviously we had Battle of Zendikar where the Eldrazi did have colors, but they all had the devoid ability, which meant you had to spend colored mana to cast them and use their abilities, but they counted as being colorless. So these kind of weird. This is kind of like the prototype Eldrazi. I feel like before they got it right in Battle for Zendikar. I feel like this is kind of like the rough first draft essentially. So we have a single Nest Invader, which is 1 green for a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, create a 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature token, and it has sacrifice this creature, add 1 colorless to your mana pool. So this is kind of like what all the colored Eldrazi kind of do. They're drones. So they're basically only in red, green, and a few in black. They're not in white or blue at all. But these colored Eldrazi drones I think all do something with making spawn tokens, which then the spawn tokens can be sacrificed to mana, so then you can sacrifice those to get the bigger Eldrazi out slightly quicker. Or we'll cast other spells. It's not like they're limited. You only use it to cast Eldrazi spells or anything. But Nest Invader is pretty good, and it's a shame there's only like one of them. And then we have Kozilek's Predator. This is also pretty good as well. Like 3 and a green for a 3/3. And when it ends the battlefield, you make 2 Eldrazi spawn tokens. So like it's doing a lot for 4 mana. Because 4 mana for a 3/3 is like Hill Giant stats, which is kind of boring but okay. But at least it's then also making these tokens, which help essentially ramp up your mana. So that's fine as well. And for a common, I think that's pretty good. But again, we've only got one of them. And then Rapacious One. Is 5 and a red for a 5/4 with trample, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you make that many Eldrazi spawn tokens, which is like a pretty interesting take on it. So I was going to say I think the red ones are all reliant on combat damage, but they're not. I think this is the only one that's reliant on combat damage. All the others are enter the battlefield effects. They're kind of inconsistent. The prototype Eldrazi, but yeah, that's it. So for a deck that's all meant to be about the Eldrazi, we had 6 Eldrazi cards. Actually, no, we got the rare. It's all do Eldrazi, but that's it. That's it. So now we're into just sort of red green filler. And this is what I was gonna say about Rise of the Eldrazi being kind of a weird set, in that all these precons do not use cards from either Zendikar or Worldwake. Eldrazi, Rise of the Eldrazi is like very much a set on its own. It is like almost the ultimate in third set syndrome because it uses no mechanics from the previous 2 sets. It doesn't use allies, doesn't use landfall, doesn't use kicker, and it introduces honestly way too much in my opinion, because it introduces Eldrazi, which is fine. That's like the big thing of the set, but also it has rebound in here. It has level up creatures. It has totem armor. I'm sure it has something else which I can't think of the top of my head, but it's doing a lot, and it's only a small set. And I don't know, it's just a very weird choice. So yeah, all the cards in these decks are going to be brand new, apart from like the M10 cards. But yeah, no cards from Zendikar or Worldwake. So I've got mixed feelings on that. Anyway. So the For Your Face rare is Conquering Manticore. So 4 and 2 red, 5/5 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, you do active treason. You just gain control something until end turn, which is fine. But I don't know. It's just like, why is this the rare? Like, why was there not like a rare Eldrazi as as the rare? Like, it seems crazy to me. Like, I don't know. I think it's just because there was just a weird. I don't know. The set was just designed very weird. I think it's trying to do too much with too little space. So we didn't actually get kind of just. We got 3 mythic rare Eldrazi. But yeah, and then just not much else. I don't know. It's very weird. Moving on. So we have a single Akum Boulderfoot. So 4 and 2 red for a 4/5, and ends the battlefield, does 1 damage to target creature or player. Kind of expensive, honestly, for what it does. 6 mana for a 4/5. With no other ability, with no trample or anything like that, and only does 1 damage. Like, this could have been 2 damage. That would have been fine. 1 damage is nothing really. Definitely could have been 2, in my opinion. Single Ondu Giant, so 3 and a green for a 2/4. When it ends the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle your library. Yep, this is fine. 4 mana for a 2/4 is kind of barely acceptable cost to stat line, because we sort of see that stat line a few times. But this being like rampant growth as well actually makes it pretty good, I think. Chunky blocker with a rampant growth deck, which is what the deck wants because it's got, I say, the expensive Eldrazi. So this is okay. A single Daggerback Basilisk. It's just 2 and a green for a 2/2 with Death Touch. Yep, sure, it's fine. 2 Sporecap Spiders. 2 and a green for a 1/5 with Reach. Yeah, again, like perfectly fine. Like, I guess the point is you drop this and kind of stall out where you build up to the Eldrazi, I guess. But it's fine at 3 mana. Like it's just a big chunky blocker. Single Goblin Piker because we are still obligated to have M10 cards in here. Yeah, I would argue there's still much better cards to have, from Red's card pool than Goblin Piker. But here we are, just a 2/1 for 2, sure. A single Ruined Servitor, so 2 colors for a 2/2. When it dies, everyone draws a card. Sure. I mean, it's some very limited card draw for yourself, I suppose. Which at the time you're in red-green. There's not that much ways of drawing cards. This is okay, I guess. I have no idea why it's uncommon, but it's okay. So the other area of the deck, this is sort of like the other kind of main Eldrazi card. So 2 and a green for enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you just make a spawn token, which is okay. It's essentially like an extra, colorless mana every turn, I suppose. It's fairly cheap. I kind of wish this had been the foil face rare, honestly, but I say we had the Manticore, which is nothing to do with Eldrazi at all, but here we are. It's okay, I think, and I say if you drop it early, it does really help because then you're essentially getting a free like mana dork every turn, essentially. Growth Spasm, I think, is pretty good as well. So 2 and a green. So it's rampant growth, but also makes an Eldrazi spawn. So you're kind of getting 2 mana out of this, I suppose. I kind of really want to see like more cards like this. Really, just that has a established effect. Like say like a shock effect, but then also makes Eldrazi spawn or I don't know, stuff like that. It's just the set is very diluted, as we'll see. We got like all the level up creatures and totem armor, and it's just very frustrating how it's put together because it's a set with good cards in it, but I say these pre-constructed decks are it's very confusing how they've been put together. Single Might of the Masses, single green. Target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn for every creature you control, which is a pretty strong effect to have for a single green. And especially in a deck like this when you are potentially going quite wide with Eldrazi spawn tokens. This is pretty good. I remember being quite impressed by this when I first saw it. And just like, wow, that's really good for a common. Has such a potentially high ceiling. Like it doesn't take much for this to be better than Giant Growth. Especially in this when you're making kind of a lot of say like creature tokens and stuff. So it has a really high potential. A single Bountiful Harvest, so 4 and a green, it's an M10 card. You gain 1 life for every land you control. Sure. Sure. So I'd say how much do you want to be getting from this to make it worthwhile? 5 mana. You probably want to be getting, I would say I'd say you want to get about 10 life off this to actually make it feel worthwhile. Like casting this, as soon as you could, just to get 5 life. Like 5 mana for 5 life is not worth it, in my opinion. I mean, if you wanted to go be completely nuts, you could use Eldrazi Spawn to cast it even earlier and get even less life. But why would you do that? This would be an easy card to cut, I think, first time. Windstorm. Another M10 card, X and a green, instant, does X damage to each creature with flying. This is okay. I mean, you've got the Manticore. That's the only creature you've got with flying. This is okay. You've got very few other ways of dealing with fly. You've got the Sporecap Spiders, but they're pretty weak. You'd have to buff them up to reliably kill enemy flyers. So this is okay. This is an okay inclusion, I think. Act of Treason, we still get Act of Treason. It is a red Zendikar block deck, so we obligatory Act of Treason. Act of Treason is still a perfectly fine effect, but it is here just to fill an uncommon slot, I feel, but it's still fine. 2 Flame Slashes. Now this is pretty good. This is a card I really liked when it first came out, and I still actually really liked this here because I think it's really good, honestly, for its cost. I mean, it's no lightning bolt, but it's fine. So 1 red mana sorcery does 4 damage to a creature. as pretty strong. 4 damage is like not an insignificant amount of damage, especially only 1 red. And yeah, it's sorcery speed, but like I think it's pretty good. And having 2 of these, I think, is pretty solid. Kills a lot of creatures for only a very small mana investment. So yeah, I think it's a good card to have, especially at common as well. Because like I don't know, I feel like burn spells these days are always slightly overcosted for what they do. But I have a single Dreamstone Hedron, 6 mana artifact. Taps give you 3, or you can pay 3 and sacrifice to draw 3 cards. So this is something that would be worth powering out early by using like Eldrazi Spawn, because then it's gives you like so much mana when you tap it, which helps obviously accelerate into your bigger Eldrazi, and kind of when you've used it enough. Or you've kind of stabilized a bit more, then you can just pop it and draw 3 cards and kind of reload the hand a bit. So yeah, this is another good card to have in the deck. And then we have 10 forests and 8 mountains. So yeah, there we go. So what could have been? Definitely should have been a bigger focus on Eldrazi in this deck, I think, for sure. Like there is, for a deck called Eldrazi Arisen, I would expect more cards about the Eldrazi. So Artisan of Kozilek is an option here. It's another one of the Colorless Eldrazi. So 9 mana for a 10/9. When you cast it, you can get a creature from your graveyard back to the battlefield, so it does a free like reanimate effect. Well, not free, it's 9 mana, but and it has Annihilator too, so this definitely I think could have been in here. Just have another big Eldrazi. Ancient Stirrings, a single green mana. You look at the top 5 cards of your library, you reveal a colorless card from among them, put it into hand, and then the rest go on the bottom of any library. So and the library in any order. So this can be, you can use this to get lands, or like I say, the Colorless Eldrazi, because that's kind of the point of it. But yeah, it's it's kind of like a land tutor, I suppose. Yeah, but this definitely could have been here. And Broodwarden, you've got a lot of effects that make Eldrazi spawn, and Broodwarden makes Eldrazi spawn better, makes them into 2/2s, and that could have been used. So I say just like one of these, and like I don't know, there's so much potential in here just to have more Eldrazi cards, but there just wasn't. There's also a whole bunch of like red spells that care about Eldrazi or Eldrazi spawn, like Spawning Breath and Brood Birthing, but there is another sort of Eldrazi deck that we're going to look at next, I think, the next one, the Invading Spawn, which has more like I'll talk about the red cards in that a bit more, but yeah, just could have had this. And also, there just should have been a better rare Eldrazi card in the set, just to have as the foil face rare, because the only 2 rare Eldrazi were the Spawn Sire of Ulamog, which is good. It makes Eldrazi spawn tokens, but it has like this really weird effect where like you pay, I think it's like 20 mana, and then you can just cast Eldrazi from outside the game, which is like, it would be a weird card to include in a pre-constructed deck, in my opinion. It'd be like including like a wish card or something that accesses your sideboard, which is not necessarily something a new player is going to benefit from. And It That Betrays, but It That Betrays is really, really strong because it has Annihilator, and when someone sacrifices something, you get control of it. So, I don't know, should have just been, and a 3rd rare Eldrazi that was just kind of like a big beat stick, and then that could have been a good foil face rare. But anyway. So in summary, it's okay. I think. I mean, it is still red-green aggro at the end of the day. I think calling it Eldrazi Arisen is kind of misleading because, I say, there's 6 Eldrazi cards in here, and Awakening Zone and Growth Spasm, but you could say those are just mana generation. I suppose they're not like really Eldrazi cards, are they? So yeah, it's okay. I think it just had a lot of potential to be better, but I want to say it's trying to do the best with the card pool available, but like there was a good card pool available. And I don't know why it's clogged up with just a bunch of random red-green spells. It's just a little disappointing. But that's my thoughts on it. What are your thoughts on this after seeing it? You've got any stories, thoughts, comments, opinions about this deck, or the Eldrazi in general, or the set in general? Stick a comment below. Always like reading those, but I'll be back next time, and I'm going to look at another Rise of the Eldrazi deck, which is, I think I actually mentioned it, Invading Spawn. So we'll look at that next time. But until then, thanks for watching and listening. Have a great day.